Hello and welcome to the Talk to the Internet podcast, featuring Lawrence Sontag, Bruce Green, and Criken Crikes.
That's his last name.
Criken Crikes. Oh, crikey.
Sorry,
I
Keenan.
didn't like that. Can we
No?
reset?
Okay, sure.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, I should have asked you, what would you like to be introduced as?
Criken Crikes.
Okay, got it.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Hello and welcome to the Talk to the Internet podcast with Lawrence Sontag, Bruce Green, and Duda Poopyhead, Crikey Crikes.
Was that what you wanted, Criken?
Is that a good one? Good take?
No.
Take two? We're not doing take two. All right.
Okay.
This is a dumb bit. Can we move on to the actual podcast?
Aw. Okay, fine. We can move on to the actual podcast.
Little did you know, we're in the podcast right now.
Whoa.
I know.
This whole time?
The whole time. Your whole life is a podcast. I don't know if you know that.
It pretty much is at this point.
Yeah.
With the
That's
amount of
basically
stuff,
a podcast.
time I spend online.
Yep.
Thank you guys for coming together to make some content. Lord knows this internet of ours it's just thirsting for more content. It's three dudes getting together to talk about video games called a content. No, it's called a podcast. Right, that's what we're doing.
It's called a podcast. Is this number 51, 52? Something like that?
I'd have to check my folders.
Yeah, I think we've done 51 or 52. We hit number 50. We didn't even talk about it.
Yeah. I think last one was number 50, I came to understand when I named the folder 50, and I was like, oh.
But that's also kind of how cool I think we are, is that we're like so understated about, the stuff we do. Like we don't draw attention to it because we don't need to,
You know, there's a rule that when you call yourself cool, you're no longer cool. You know that?
Well, technically I said we, so I took you guys down with me.
Oh, shit.
So if you feel that way, then we're all in this together.
Balls. You got me.
You bring up an interesting topic, though, Criken, of being too cool to celebrate arbitrary things. I always think about it like birthdays. Some people, I think, go through phases where they're like, I don't even want to care about my birthday. I don't care. It's just another number. Who cares? And then, I think some people resent people who still celebrate their birthdays, thinking it's childish. I don't know. Where do you guys land on that? Is a birthday? How do you guys think about your birthdays? How do you celebrate them, or do you celebrate them?
Well, first of all, I don't concern myself what other people do pretty much at any point. If they want to celebrate their birthday, that's great. If they don't, I don't really care. But for myself personally, I usually hang out with friends for my birthday and then feel a little bit sad about being older, but that's just kind of my tradition, as I think it is for most people.
Do you take the day off? Do you
say you necessarily.
Okay. Do you
I make people be nicer to me though. That is, I play the birthday card as many times as I can, because it's the one day of the year you can, and
people have to
so
do it.
I take advantage of that.
You got to be a balls out monster to just deny somebody a simple request on their birthday.
Yeah.
How about you, Bruce? How do you get down with your birthday? Do you, like Criken said, do you leverage social pressure to make everybody do exactly what you want all day?
No, I don't like to. Much like my philosophy is, I think with everything in life, including my content and movies and television and music, I want people to discover my birthday on their own. So I don't want to tell people it's my birthday. I want them to be like, holy shit, it's your birthday. And then be like, oh my gosh, we got to throw a surprise party. Or, oh my gosh, I'll take you out for a drink. Or, oh, I sent you a $10 Chipotle gift card or whatever. And I'm like, wow, thank you. Because they cared enough to look, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I think about it. However, I have started doing I'm glad you brought this up, Lawrence, because I've started doing a morbid tradition in my head of recounting what has happened on my birthdays over the last 10 to 15 years. So what I'll do is I'll think about where I was and what I did on my birthday. And a lot of them are fantastic memories, right? But there was one, what was it, 2014? It was 2014. I was at a super bad place, and I remember spending my birthday alone at the top of a hill. I had done a hike or something, and I was standing there being like, wow, this really sucks. And I look back on that one and go, fuck, that was a bad birthday. But I also try and take the good with the bad, of course. So then, like, I remember my 30th birthday being really, really fun. That was a real pleasure. There was, let's see here, was it last year or the year before? Autumn took me to Disneyland, and that was fantastic. So I don't know. It's and as you get older, unfortunately, I'm turning 40 this year.
Ooh, wait,
For
real, Bruce?
Yeah, for real.
No way. I thought you were like
No.
35 tops.
No, I am turning 40 in just a few months, actually.
Gosh, this guy.
I know, and I know it's
Diamond
and
skin.
so when you hit those milestones, you just start thinking about what happened in the last 10 years, 20 years, whatever. That's just what you do. But like Criken said, I really try not to, because I know Criken said he feels sad. I try not to feel sad about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I try to, like take stock of what I have, how blessed I am now. And like Lauren said, like I feel very, very lucky that I still look like a little boy. So, so I'll take, I mean, obviously, yes, I've aged, but
The face of an innocent boy, but the body of a Greek god. It's the perfect combination.
Well said. Well said.
Perfect
combination.
I know, right? The worst combination. So I just like to, like I like to take stock of that stuff. So this year, and much like 30, when I turned 30, I didn't feel old. 30 was not the one that I felt old. 31 was when I felt old. And so I imagine 40 will be the same. 40 will be like, whatever. And then 41 will be like, fuck. So, yeah. It's an interesting thing you brought up, Lawrence, because it's been on my mind a little bit.
Yeah. I imagine, at the 40 that it would certainly be. I'm still telling myself that it's weird. I'm 37 right now, but I tell myself since I think I'm on the last half of 37, so I'm officially in like the last quarter of my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow being in the first half of the second half made it feel like the 30s weren't really gone yet. But I think they are, which is crazy. Man, you want to talk, Bruce, sad birthdays? I think my 2014 birthday was the saddest. So
really?
We were sad at the same time. Well, same birthday, I guess. Yeah, that was when I turned 30, and I had just moved out to LA, just gotten out of a marriage. Yeah. And nobody knew or cared that it was my birthday in LA. And I didn't really, I wasn't even really in a headspace to go anywhere. So I just remember when I turned 30, I was just sitting in my apartment alone, I think just getting drunk and watching internet videos. And just being like, yep, this is it. Okay, sure, whatever. It was like, this is what I deserve right now. But I mean, it was, in a weird way, it was good because I was sort of relearning how to have fun with myself, I guess in multiple ways. But the emotional way, it's hard, Criken. It's hard out there. The emotional way was, apparently. just doing the things that I wanted to do and being very impulsive. So that was nice because that's pretty much all what I wanted, is to just get smashed and not have to worry about. I guess the thing about birthdays that can sometimes be annoying is that I guess any time that in a social situation that the attention is sort of thrown off, people get a little weird. And I don't know. I never really liked, I guess I've had so many circumstances in both my youth and in my adult life of trying to do what I want and having people go along with it out of obligation and then complaining about it while they're doing it. That has happened to me so much that I'm just like, fine, I don't want to deal with it. It's my birthday. I shouldn't have to deal with people getting snippy and selfish.
You shouldn't.
So
No, you shouldn't.
I'll just go do my own thing, which kind of is what led to me embracing getting drunk alone while the sun was out when I turned 30. Birthdays have gotten a lot better since, mostly because Games Done Quick always runs during my birthday. So I view it as a birthday treat to myself to sit inside and do absolutely nothing and just watch the world's paragon nerds show up and like flex for me. It's like I get to walk through a garden of giant brains that are just pulsating with gamer energy. And that's what really warms my soul these days. It's a little birthday treat.
That's a beautiful description of Games Done Quick. A garden of pulsating gamer brains.
Lawrence, you gotta go and attend it one year.
I should, yeah. Maybe I think they might be doing it in person.
Next year, hopefully?
next winter. But yeah, I would very much love to. The when I had the freedom to do something like that, basically when I left my last job, that's kind of when quarantine slammed. So there's a lot of going out and living life that I have yet to do, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I just got my second vaccine last week.
Oh, nice.
And went out to a movie with college friends for the first time in like a year and a half on Sunday. And that was like a whole experience where I like didn't feel like I should be. And then like once I was kind of settled in, like we had like, the rhythm going, then I felt super nostalgic and kind of relaxed and like comfortable. So yeah, I feel like slowly I'm getting more used to the idea of doing stuff again. Like I went out for food and lay in the grass at like a park last week too, and that was
That
like
sounds nice. Yeah.
not a thing that I would normally do. But after being inside for essentially a year, I was like, you know what? I got to break down those barriers again.
What movies did you see?
Cruella.
Ah, yes, I've seen it.
You've seen it? Okay, what are your thoughts? Because I have thoughts too.
Lawrence, have you seen it?
I have.
Oh, Paul, terrific.
How do we all see Cruella at separate occasions?
Autumn wanted us because I was like Criken, much like Criken. I was like, I need to do anything out of the house literally right now, and I was like, I'll see any movie. And Autumn was like, let's go see Cruella, and I was like, you got it, because I didn't want to see it, but I was like, fuck it. And it was fine. I actually thought it was really fun to look at, like in terms of the fashion and the sets.
It was really pretty.
Yeah, the production design was so cool. The movie itself didn't make any sense, but at least for me. But yeah, it's really fun to look at. And Emma Stone did a fantastic job. I thought the actors did a really good job. I just thought it was written poorly and the plot didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So
it was written very weirdly. Weirdly long too. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
it is. It's very long. Yes.
I feel like they could have cut out a whole iteration of the plot, and it would have probably been a lot more concise. But I thought it was fun for a lot of the same reasons. Like it was really pretty. The jokes were pretty good. They were like whenever it was like being kind of hammy and like tongue in cheek, I thought the jokes landed pretty well.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah, in general, I was pleasantly surprised.
Lawrence, what do you think?
I liked it. The thing that kept occurring to me, outside of a few scenes, is that it didn't necessarily, have to be a 101 Dalmatians movie or related to that at all. Which to me, I don't know. This is where my head goes. I'm like, oh, okay. So they wanted to make a movie about fashion, but you can't just release a movie that's not connected to a brand. Yeah. So they tied it to that, and then my head went to why is everyone being so like. It's just that internet dunk phenomenon that I'm just getting so sick of. So yeah, that clip made the rounds of like Dalmatians killing Cruella's mom. And if you don't watch the movie, then that seems like the shittiest writing in the world. But that's not really her motivations in becoming a villain or lashing out against that character. I mean, they kind of are.
She gets over about that part pretty quick.
Yeah,
pretty quick.
Brought up as like a plot point.
So I don't know, the hot takes. I guess I'm just getting so tired of hot takes because I wish I could just watch a movie without those things worming their way into my brain. Because once I had seen it, I was like, oh yeah, everybody was just in a rush to like dunk on this movie, I guess. Even though it does have merit in terms of its like acting performances, the individual lines can be dropped really well. The performers are really good. The set designs are outstanding, and I think there's tons of imagination in the big fashion set pieces they do. And man, what a shame to just like dismiss a movie because you see a clip and you want to feel intellectually superior. I don't know what causes that phenomenon, but yeah, I had a good time watching it, and that's more than I can say for a lot of movies that I see.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen that clip, obviously, when I went to see it.
I hadn't either, yeah.
And so when it happened, the whole theater burst into laughter, which was great, because that's what it felt like. It felt like it was supposed to be a funny moment, almost, like a tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, okay, this is how we're getting to the Cruella plot. And like, yeah, the rest was fine after that. It basically is like a 2-hour heist movie where they just kept doing heists and with like pretty clothes and looking for a new reason to have pretty clothes on screen again, which I was fine with.
I remember coming home from that being like, I got to look up a bunch of internet theories as to how this movie ties in to 101 Dalmatians, because It makes no sense at
It
the end of
doesn't
that
make
film.
any sense in that.
And I was like, I don't know how the fuck this went from, because unless it was a retcon, unless they retconned the whole thing.
Okay, so I stuck around for some reason after the initial credits, and there was an end credits scene.
Oh, there was. What was it?
That ties it in to the 101 Dalmatians a little bit.
I mean, the
How'd they do
characters are. Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
The characters from 101 Dalmatians are in it. I didn't realize that until afterwards because, like, I obviously have not thought about 101 Dalmatians in like over a decade. So why would I remember their names? But they have like seeded the characters from that movie in this.
That's right.
Movie. And then at the end, they have, God, I forget what scene is the actual end, but they have a puppy from the Dalmatian that killed her mom. The puppies that they have are gifted to each of the characters from 101 Dalmatians, which then become, the massive breeder factory that spits out 100 fucking Dalmatians. So, but then that like brings up the question of like, so she's trying to kill the
why is she mad
grandchildren of these dogs.
Why is she mad at them? Do we know why?
She was just trying to make a coat.
But like, they address that multiple times in a tongue-in-cheek way in the movie, and she's like,
And she keeps saying,
nah, I
nah,
wouldn't do that.
Nah.
But then like that happens, and so you're like,
Well, she got older
Yeah.
and meaner.
sure, okay, we'll go with that. She got older and meaner.
So Lawrence,
She's a villain. Does that not work? I don't know.
Yeah, no, Lawrence, I actually buy into what Lawrence said for sure. However, that makes me then hate her more. So in the movie, so then I have no one to root for because there's two villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
there's,
was the trouble they had as writers. I think you could tell, like they're walking that fine line of like she's got to be a villain, but like we want her to be relatable. It's she's got like a heart of gold, but it's like
it's anti-hero
but
territory.
she's overcoming the angst that is like natural to her, or something like that. So
Yeah, because Emma Thompson that's her name, right? Emma Thompson. She was great. She's terrific in it. But also a terrible person. And then Emma Stone is great, but also apparently a terrible person that wants to kill 100 dogs. So I'm like, what? Like, I guess I like Jasper.
I guess I like Jasper.
I mean, the henchmen were
the movie.
were really cool.
The henchmen were great.
They
I
were,
love the henchmen.
yeah. No, they were terrific. They were easily the highlight of the movie for me. At least in wanting something good to happen somewhere. Like I said, Emma Stone does a fantastic job with very little. I was really, really impressed with the acting in this film. So.
I think it hits on an interesting topic that relates to us, though.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we are all of us content creators.
That's right.
Except we live in an age where like we have technologically based tools that are available to us to allow us to bring our creations directly to the market. The film Cruella takes place in like 60s London, or 60s 70s London, where if you want to get into fashion, you kind of have to go through the system. You have to give your work away to somebody else who's established that will then take it for themselves and make it their brand. And that's just what you have to do because people that have tenured themselves into the system can wield that kind of power. So I feel like, and Bruce, I'd actually love to hear your thoughts on this, having gone through radio and TV and stuff like that. Something did kind of strike me where I'm at now. I am working with other, contract editors and stuff. They're doing work for me that I pay them for, but then I put it up on my channel and it goes to build my brand. And I try my best to credit where I can and make sure that people's work is visible for the people who are looking for it. But that's essentially the state of things. So it made me think a lot about creative fields that then become businesses and the generational turnaround that happens, and how the young people that come in typically have to give away their best ideas and their best work just because the system is structured in such a way that that's the cost of entry. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
That's a good question. Sorry, go ahead, Criken.
I'll start because I know Bruce probably has more insight, so I'll get mine out of the way first.
That's not true. Criken's you've been a content creator for like 15 years, man.
Yeah. But you have experience in other creative fields that have more relevance, I guess, to this flip. From my experience, I started making content when I was 14. doing my own thing on my own channel. So I always was original, but in my eyes, to break out, I needed to partner with someone like Machinima, in which I then there were like deals where you would send them your video, it would go up on their channel, you'd be credited and all that, but like basically they get all the views and it goes viral on their channel. But you reach a larger audience because of that. And that was some of the first times that I hit the big view counts, was doing that. But then the big difference was I brought all that stuff back to my channel and reinforced it there, as opposed to living exclusively on Machinima. So, and then from there, I've pretty much only been kind of my own brand. So yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on the what's the word? The likelihood of that working out, because at this point it's so easy to start your own brand, but very, very hard to rise above the noise.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's a different problem that has come up now, where what you're describing, Lawrence, is now a problem again, but it's not from lack of access. It's from lack of, way of elevating, right?
It's too much access. Everyone
exactly.
can put their shirts on the display of the store now. So how are people going to know what to look at?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it's interesting to hear your side of it, Criken, because I think Lawrence and I are both we came up in the traditional side of it, where we worked for businesses and they paid us for our time, and if we had an idea or whatever, they just took it, and we would make it there, but it would go to help the company succeed. And my best example of this is something that still people don't know and people still ask me, which is every dollar we made on any Funhouse video or Inside Gaming video went to Rooster Teeth or Machinima, respectively. So we got paychecks every 2 weeks, but they were standard. They were rates that we negotiated. So it didn't matter if Funhouse made $100 million in a year or if it made $1 million in a year. We still got the same paycheck. That was, by the way, I'm not bitter about it. That's just that was the agreement I signed into, because they give you benefits and they give you the safety of a job, and obviously there's the company culture and the building and the equipment, and they pay for all that stuff. So that was now that I've been in the entertainment business since I was 18, so about 20 years. That's always been the thing that you were supposed to do. There's heavy gatekeeping at the front. So whether or not it was radio or television or now internet, when it came to working for a large company, you had to apply and apply and apply, or know somebody there, or have a bunch of experience. And then when you came in, they wouldn't immediately be like, okay, go make a bunch of videos and put them on our channel. It was never that. It was exactly the opposite. It was like, okay, you're gonna be here for a year. You're going to maybe make one video. We'll see what happens. We'll see what it looks like on our channel and if people like it. And then if you can make something that's good, whether or not it's a television segment or you're a DJ on the radio or you're making something for Machinima, we will slowly give you chances to become a content creator. Well, on the other side of it, like Criken did, you could just go do it for yourself as much as you want on YouTube and Twitch. And of course, you have to rise above the noise there when it comes to the other million content creators that are on the internet. And having said that, I would rather do it. I would rather fight through the noise on and basically get discovered on my own versus having to, be relegated to a production assistant job at a television station for 4 years or whatever I did. So, and I basically you just got to eat shit for a while, and it depends on where you want to eat shit. That's just kind of the way it works. It's obviously, yes, there are outliers, there are exceptions to this rule. But for the most part, if you want to be a content creator in any of these fields, then you're probably just going to have to do it for a really long time. And you're going to have to do it when you don't want to do it. You're going to have to do it when you've got one person watching. You're going to have to do it when, you feel like there's nothing left that you can make. It's just part of it. And I know that sounds kind of jaded, but it really is true. The same applies to everything. Hard work pays off. It really does. And again, there are outliers. There are exceptions. People go viral, and then all of a sudden they've got themselves like a huge channel. But I think I think our world really likes to look at the success stories and be like, wow, they just hit it big. It's like, no, they've been doing this for 10 years. Like Mr. Beast is a great example of somebody who's like massive YouTube channel. The guy had been doing it for years and years and years. Ninja had been doing it for years and years and years, long before Ninja became Ninja. Yeah. There are very, very few exceptions. Like you got discovered at a fucking donut shop and then somebody cast you, as a star, but that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And I would rather fight through the the noise of having to get discovered on a Twitch or a YouTube or whatever than have to go answer to a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing at a large company.
I think there's one other thing that actually someone in your chat, Lawrence, Captain Sarij, brought up that is interesting to me, and I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. The idea of a consistent salary or guaranteed paycheck. That's a thing I've never had. I've literally, for my entire working life, never had a salary for like more than like a one-off project, basically. And so I'm curious, because that I'm sure has had an effect on how I think about my work and my schedule and my stress levels and like a whole bunch of stuff. And on the plus side, I keep everything that I make. It's all merit based. And like when I do well, I do really well. If I do poorly, I feel it extra. But I'm curious if you guys have any insight on, now that you're working, for yourselves, what that shift of mentality, the pros and cons that had come with it.
Lawrence, what do you think?
Oh, I was thinking a lot about that. about compensation, basically. In 2019, when I was really playing a lot of mental tennis about whether to stay in a salaried job or not. Yeah, the steady income is theoretically a benefit of having a salaried job. The problem is, though, the illusion ultimately shattered for me when I realized that the second that what I'm working on doesn't generate revenue, they're going to lay me off. So they can, a company will pretend to be on your side. They'll pretend to have your back. But the second that a belt has to tighten, they will cut you loose. And an executive might squeeze out a tear or two, or they might give you like a $10 Chipotle gift card on your way out the door. But they're there to make money. And no matter what they feel about it, once a company gets to a certain size, feelings don't matter. And it became very clear that feelings did not matter where I was. So I was like, well, I can't depend on that. So either I have to it's always going to be the situation where I'm generating more wealth for the company than they're paying me. And the second that I slip below that line, they're going to can my ass. And maybe I'll get a month's severance or something. So that steady paycheck thing is kind of an illusion, at least in the United States. I think in Europe, it seems like it's much harder to fire people. But even then, that doesn't that benefit doesn't really agree with how I work. To me, salaries mean it's all predictable. You have a steady workload. You go in, you do your job in a predictable way, and then you get the paycheck for that work. But I like volatile workloads, and I like working in bursts on projects. And kind of like Bruce said, I like owning the success or failure of what I do, versus owning the failures and handing all the successes to somebody else, which is typically what a salaried position is like. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I also felt the sting of it the other way. Machinima, I'm comfortable saying now, was horrible at paying contractors. I mean, Bruce, you know this. So I was I don't mean to drag you into it if you wanted to avoid that, but
no, are you kidding me? No, I'll talk about it all day.
Yeah. Okay. I figured Machinima is a ghost now, so it's okay to to kind of shine a light in the past.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Drag him.
I mean, I was a contract writer for Machinima, and before I get too much into my complaints, that's the job that let me go full contract. Let me go full-time freelance writing a million years ago. But they would go months without sending me checks for my work. And it got to where I remember the exact day that I was walking to the mailbox in my apartment complex and thinking like, this is the last day that the check can be here. And it wasn't there. And I kicked the mailbox and I swore really loudly, and I had to borrow money from a friend, which is something that I hate doing. But yeah, I mean, I was good for it. I did the work, but they just refused to pay on time. And it's interesting, Bruce, like you said, you have to eat shit somewhere. To me, that was my eating shit. I could have created a huge problem. I could have tried to go loud. I mean, no one cared about me at the time. But like that would have ended it. If I had tried to burn that bridge, who knows where I'd be now, and I probably wouldn't have the career and platform that I do. So to me, that's what Cruella, to drag it all the way back, that's what it symbolizes. It was somebody who wasn't willing to eat that bowl of shit, and they basically threw away their career on a single moment of revenge, which is an interesting and believable motivation, at least for me, given that I've been in that situation and sure would have liked to set that person on fire. It does, right? Yeah. All life experiences intersect at Cruella.
Well, the interesting thing that you're saying, Lawrence, too, is that you are working there for a large company. So remember we were just talking about how the safety of a large company? Mm-hmm. Well, they're not paying you? Like, so that's the whole point of a large company, is that they have the capital, they have the cash to pay somebody in a timely manner, and they weren't even doing it.
I mean, I think it's a little bit different because the early new media internet company age was a wild west where shit was going on that like it was just growing faster than anyone was prepared for, and so the wrong people were running stuff in a lot of cases and had no checks or balances because no one knew what to check or balance. So like, yeah, I think that unfortunately was more common back then.
You're being very, very nice,
Yeah, you're
Criken.
being extremely kind.
I hate that excuse because there are a bunch of millionaires basically not paying.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not
Lawrence.
defending them.
No, I know.
I'm more saying that like that was unfortunately common back then. I think because of the fact that it was a new time where there was no regulations or oversight. You know, there was no like, and then once these big companies got bought by the bigger like production companies, they're like, oh shit, like this is a disaster. And then they've had to like move in and fuck everything up and then eventually they usually drop it because they're like, this was not sustainable to begin with. So I don't know. I got a lot of feelings about MCNs, but
they're basically gone now, right?
Mm-hmm. They're basically gone. I actually just recently I was talking with APL Fisher, and he said he still had a machinima contract that had just expired like a few months ago. Which made me crack up. He's like, I think I'm the last content creator with a machinima contract.
Well,
and I guess they didn't renew.
I talked about this actually a couple streams ago, but the early machinima contracts, the very first ones were the ones
they're forever.
Yeah, the indefinite ones.
In perpetuity was the major phrase.
And I remember getting that at 15 years old, and even at 15 years old, reading this contract, I'm like, this doesn't seem right. Like everything I understand about business tells me this is not how it's supposed to be done.
And you were 15.
I was 15, and I like showed my dad, and he was like, hell no. And he was like really pissed. It was like,
it's like Motown all over again. It's great.
The actual line that I remember was like, you know, time of contract effectiveness, and it was like in perpetuity. And then it was like location, the universe. Like it literally was the same line. It was both of those right next to each other. And I was like, this feels uncomfy.
Well, you were right, by the way, because we got a lot of complaints. I mean, we were on the other side of that machinima, and I remember hearing over and over and over from all the partner managers being like, they're all complaining about these contracts that say in perpetuity, which means forever. Like that's not a real thing.
And that wouldn't hold up in any court. Like
no.
It was just a weird like line in the sand that did not need to exist, that caused a lot of problems.
At the risk of, I never like this podcast almost always turns into us talking about being a content creator.
Yeah, right.
And I don't want anybody to ever be like, oh, I'm so tired of them talking about the whatever.
Yeah, the struggles of playing video games and shooting the shit all day.
So I try to bring it back to people that want to do it on their own, because that's a question I get a lot, which is always like, how do I do it for myself? And I saw a comment in Lawrence's chat that said luck plays a very large part of it when it comes to like getting discovered and things like that. And I actually disagree with you. and this is a phrase that I've heard often, and I believe, which is you make your own luck. And by that, I mean you work very, very hard, and eventually you're in a place where you then get discovered because you're working so hard. And if you consider that luck, then that's luck. But if you've been sitting there grinding for 10 years and then you just you get a fucking call from your agent that Drake wants to play Fortnite with you, like that wasn't because Ninja was lucky. Like the dude had been doing it a long time. And Drake had probably been watching him and was like, oh, you know what? I love to play Fortnite with this guy. Like, it's just because Ninja was there. So, and by the way, I'm not trying to use Ninja as like the person you're aspiring to be. I'm just using him because he's one of the biggest. So I think for me, it's not that luck absolutely can play a part. It has not with me.
I think luck is just how many bowls of shit are going to be served to you.
Yeah.
And if you can't eat a single bowl of shit, then you'll have to get very lucky. But if you can eat 100 bowls of shit, your luck doesn't need to be so great. Because essentially, one will have a golden ticket under it. You just have to keep eating shit.
Wait, the golden tickets are under the bowls? Why are we eating them then?
No, you have to
You
eat
can
them.
just check under the bowl.
Nope. The waiter won't allow it. The waiter did it 20 years ago, so now you have to do it too.
Who's this mysterious waiter?
He's the man.
Wow.
He's the man we all got to answer to.
Then who's making the bowls of shit? The chef.
I mean, that's just
the
people get backed up sometimes. Yeah, there you go.
The shadow man.
Yeah, the executive.
Yeah, there's tiers of men.
I have somebody in my chat says luck is involved with everything. That's BS. All right, Super Average, you got it. You're right. My 20 years of
I don't necessarily completely agree with that, Bruce. I do think there is luck in things. I agree with the idea of, I think honestly the way Lawrence put it is perfect. Like you've got to, the more endurance you have to put up with shit, the more chances you have of your luck coming around, sort of thing. But
yeah, that's not luck.
Still, yeah, I mean that
that's
part
eating
isn't
shit.
luck.
Yeah, that's
right. That
shit.
part isn't luck. But I do think there are kind of fateful, circumstances that can either put you in a position where there's an opportunity for more.
Correct.
And so forth. So, like for example, being born to a loving family, or being privileged enough with like having the support of middle class or upper class family. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that I might take for granted when I think of the work that I've put in my life, but it is lucky in the scheme of like what other people have to go through and the time that I have had to explore those options now because of the lucky circumstances that I found myself in when I got started.
Yeah, I don't have those feelings, Criken.
Really?
No, because I didn't grow up that way. I was very lucky that my parents really gave a shit about me. We can go, if we want to go all the way back, I was very lucky that my parents really cared and wanted to put me through community college / university. That was great. I was very lucky. That didn't necessarily play into the industry I'm in now. But I was very lucky that way. That said, I watched my parents struggle and struggle and struggle, and just bang their heads against walls to get to where they were. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I'm not saying that you have to do that either. You don't have to. But everybody's got their own experience, I think, it's scenario. And so that's why I'm saying you have to make your own luck, because I don't ever see anybody come to me and ask me, hey, how do I become a content creator? And then 1 month later, they're super successful. And then they're like, I did it. Like, that doesn't ever happen. It's usually somebody that comes to me is very discouraged. And they say, I've been doing this for 4 years. What do I do? So usually that's where I'm coming from there, is that again, I said at the very beginning, there are outliers to this. There are people that do. Actually, one of my favorite stories is, what's his name? He plays Fortnite. He was a friend of Achievement Hunters. He came out and visited Achievement Hunters office.
Laser beam?
There was, yeah. He came out and visited Achievement Hunter's office. He was watching them make content, and he was like, I could do this. And now he's one of the biggest Fortnite creators on YouTube of all time. So you could go that way too. It might happen that way. So it could go both. However, it probably won't go that way. It probably will not go that way.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have to, Lannon, who's, by the way, great guy. But you just may not get there as soon as you want to. Because a lot of people think that it's just instant gratification. It's like, well, since I can put this stuff on the internet, immediately I'll have viewers and immediately I'll have a way to, and that's just not true. So that's why I'm saying that, Criken. But if we want to go all the way back, yes, I was very lucky to have parents that loved me and, stayed together when I was a kid and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I'm talking about.
It was privilege too. We all rolled white dude in the United States, which is
absolutely
the stats on that one are pretty good.
Very lucky. Very lucky.
Turns out. So yeah, if it depends on how primal you want to roll the luck all the way back. Not to discount your experiences, Bruce, at all, but I think it was like 5 years from deciding like I wanna try to do this as a job to getting to where I could actually cover my bills. And that was 5 years of like working a day job and then also putting in like at least 4 to 6 hours a day. So that's about what it takes, at least for me. Then again, I worked with somebody who won a contest and, I guess impressed the right people and then instantly got a job offer. Didn't have to do any of that stuff. So it happens both ways. But then again, I feel like the same attributes that might let you skip certain steps or rather, let me think how to say this. Being able to skip the shit eating, it's nice to do, but I feel like unless you grind your way into it, you don't have that marathon endurance. And that's also what's necessary. So,
yeah.
Bruce, you brought up Ninja, like he exploded and then, made some deals that may or may not have been very good for his notoriety and his popularity. And I think his like spheres kind of shrunk a little bit. I don't think that's a referendum on the quality of his the quality of him as an entertainer or the quality of his streams. It's just like, that's kind of how life goes. I think if you're doing what you do and then the circumstances around you change, whether it's due to luck or just zeitgeist or whatever, and they explode you to popularity, unless you understand how you got there and those factors are all attributable to you and your work, then that same volatility is probably going to shuffle you down the ladder eventually too. So I do think a lot of it can be thrown into luck, but over a long enough time, luck is less of a factor. It's it's almost exactly like gambling. You can hit it once, but if you play all day, the house is going to eventually get you.
That's a really good
returns thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Lawrence. I have seen a couple people say that Bruce specifically has survivorship bias. And I know what survivorship bias is. And I'll read it from Wiki here. Survivorship bias can lead to overly optimistic beliefs because failures are ignored. And that's actually exactly the opposite of what I am doing. I don't tell you about all the failures. I don't come on here and tell you about all the failures that have happened in my life. I have a list right now in my head of 10 things that have happened in the last year that were failures of mine. And actually, believe it or not, luck would have played a part in those, and it didn't. So there's a really interesting thing there too. Like, so just because I'm like, yeah, man, just keep going, you'll eventually succeed. I'm not telling you the things that I failed at.
Wait, Recnology. Was Recnology your show, Bruce?
Yeah, absolutely. Recnology was my show.
How was that a failure? Get out of here. Sorry, somebody said it in chat. And it just brought up a bunch of memories, so that's all.
No. Believe it or not, that was not thankfully considered a major failure at the company, but it wasn't considered a success either. So it wasn't like this was the thing that made me like a content creator there. But there are lots of other things that I just don't say. And that's because they're personal to me. They are things like, Criken, the stuff that you're talking about, like your upbringing and like Lawrence said, like, you being a white dude and the blah, 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 like those are all fantastic points. And outside of the podcast, I could tell you the failures I've got, but I'm not going to sit here and recount them because then it'll sound like I'm bitter. In reality, I'm not. It's more of just like, well, it just wasn't the time is really what it boils down to.
Yeah. So. That's a really interesting point because I agree with you. And coming, talking from experience, I am very hesitant to share all the details about failure publicly in my own life. And at the same time, I also recognize the merit of that. And I wish there was a way that we could do it without, like you said, coming across bitter or defensive or, whatever these other descriptors you would have is because, the honest truth is, failure is the prerequisite to success in most cases.
That's right.
You have to fail. You have to eat shit for a while before you're in a position where you'll actually know how to deal with success and how to reach it. So, I think it'd be really helpful for a lot of people to hear and learn about the things that didn't work out, both for themselves that helped them process their own, failures and successes, but also to get a bit more context on, on who they watch and, that things aren't always as it seems, right? So, yeah, I don't really have a conclusion, I guess, to that thought, but just echoing that I agree with your sentiment, and
it's all good thoughts.
Yeah,
it's all really good. I like that you guys are, and I like that we're calling attention to the things that we can look back on and be like Lawrence said, it's like, well, we got really lucky with the ticket that we punched. And like later on in life, like I said before, it's like I absolutely watched my parents be poor for years and years and years as they worked their way up. However, they were also busting their ass to make sure that I didn't have to pay for college, which was really nice of them. And I thank them every chance I get, because I'm like, man, that's so great to not be in debt when you first come out of college. Obviously, I think I did 2 years of university, and then 2 years of really cheap community college, but it worked. It worked out well. And that was because of them. So I got really lucky that I had people that cared enough to do that. And, there are a lot of people that don't have that. So it's, I think we've all had our little advantages here and there. I would challenge other people to look at the advantages and disadvantages they have, and then see if there is a way to overcome the disadvantages you've got. And if there isn't, because of systemic problems, then that's up to our society to fix. And obviously I think we're working very, very hard to try and fix those only recently. And even then it's like, we got to do more. So
yeah,
stuff moves slowly.
That's the hard part.
I would wager for people who want to break into this sort of work, I would wager the disadvantage is that no one's looking at what I'm making. And when it comes to like how to circumvent that, that's how to get above the noise. To my solution was always to outlast the noise. Because that was, and that's the thing, it's personal. That endurance is the personality trait I saw in myself. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I just got to outrun everybody. And I eventually did that. But yeah, when you're showing up day one with a bunch of other volunteers on a gaming blog, no one's going to know that your writing is worth money and no one else's is. You've got to actually distinguish yourself somehow. So,
right.
Thing with YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that, the sad thing is I don't think there is. I think the time lag, like you have to wait in line so long that the ride's going to be closed by the time you get there. I think if you want to get into Twitch and YouTube now, you start it, and then whatever the next generation of that is, that's when maybe you'll have the bank of experience and the connections and the know-how and you'll have identified the things about yourself that work in that medium and all of those things. That's been maybe it's time, but that's not a very fun thing to hear.
Yeah, it's not. None of this is fun to hear.
That's what makes talking about, no one wants to talk about failures, not because it's like no one wants to be embarrassed or anything like that. It's because people just don't want to hear about it. Maybe like if you're a movie connoisseur, then yeah, maybe you want to like listen to an audio track from the director talking about all the shots he tried that didn't work out. And then that'll give you a lot of food for thought when I guess you want to go shoot a film too. But most people, they just want to see the finished movie. And I'll link it to something else. There were, I think there was what is it called? It's the play date, something like there's a little handheld that has that little crank on the side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was like a clip from one of the showcases they did, where one of the developers was just up there being like, I've never made a game for this before. No one has. This is all new stuff. So let's see what happens. This game may not be fun.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah. And somebody called that up being like, this is awesome. And it'd be cool to share this so that people maybe humanize developers a bit and ditch this notion that like people who are really good at their craft, and especially good at creative craft, know 100% what they're doing all the time, or that artistic expression isn't a sort of like free form thing that just sort of flows. I feel like I feel like that's kind of linked to this discussion too, of like no one wants to think. And you know what? It reminds me of that remark from J.J. Abrams about the Star Wars sequels too. They're like, oh, it'd be good if we had a plan, maybe. But the prequels had a plan, and people didn't like those. And also, sometimes the best creative output doesn't come from having a plan. It comes from like bouncing off people and improvising as you go and dealing with constraints and all that. So a lot of the, I hate to use this word, discourse around creative output, I think it's slowly starting to understand that this is all the work of humans and not some elevated class of superhumans that are allowed to be streamers and influencers and music makers and directors. It's all just humans working together and working hard, trying to make certain ideas real that feel important. I just watched Inside as well, so my mind is on a lot of these topics right now.
Oh yeah, that's a great special.
I've been planning to watch that, but I also know it's like one of those things that I'm gonna like a lot, and it's gonna like hit me like a truck. So I'm like, when am I in the right mindset for this?
Criken, it's gonna resonate with you very strongly.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that way about all of the Burnham stuff in the past. So
yeah, it's great. It's really great.
I'm gonna be contrarian. I didn't like it.
Well, before, hold on, because I want to know why you didn't like it. But before we find out why you didn't like it,
yes.
This podcast is sponsored by NordVPN. That's the reason we're doing this podcast, is because NordVPN is sponsoring Talk to the Internet. So if you go to nordvpn.com/talk2internet, you can get a 2-year plan of NordVPN for $3.56 a month. So that's 70% off plus a month free. So it's $3.56 a month for a 2-year plan. nordvpn.com/talk2internet. Or you can also use the code talk2internet. So I get a lot of questions as to what a VPN is. Well, you know what? I looked it up because it's kind of hard to explain in a few sentences. So I'll read it for you. VPN actually stands for Virtual Private Network. It describes the opportunity to establish a protected network connection when using public networks. And what that means is your internet right now is kind of being routed through a bunch of different servers throughout the country and throughout the world. And it can be sniffed out. People can pull your data if they want to, if they know how to get into those networks and take that stuff. But VPNs encrypt your internet traffic and disguise your online identity. Makes it more difficult to steal that data. And the encryption takes place in real time, and that's what NordVPN does. So it's really, really simple to use. You just install it on your computer, and you literally it's just a one button click. You just click it, and then it turns on, and then you can route it through, again, a different server in your country of origin or somewhere across the world. There's 5,500 servers in 59 countries that NordVPN uses. It's actually much faster than you expect. A lot of VPNs supposedly slow down your connection. NordVPN really doesn't. I did a couple of speed tests a while back, and it maybe slowed down just a little bit, not very much. Also, 6 devices you can use NordVPN: Windows, Android, iOS, macOS, Linux, and your Android TV, which I don't think even Lawrence has.
No, I have a Shield TV, which runs on Android. That's pretty close.
Oh, okay, all right. There's and if this is kind of for the more technologically savvy people. There's an automatic kill switch. So if the VPN connection accidentally drops, it blocks the device from accessing the web. There's a double VPN. So for extra protection, users can route their traffic through 2 VPN servers, doubling the encryption. And then NordLynx, which is their VPN tunneling solution that actually speeds up the connection more so than a standard VPN. You can also use a VPN if you want to watch region lock stuff like on Netflix. Sometimes Netflix will region lock things if you're watching Netflix in the UK versus the US. If you use your VPN to go through a different server in the UK, it'll think you're in the UK. You can watch Netflix from the UK. And that's what you do with NordVPN. Again, it's super simple, easy to use. And if you want to use our code TALK2INTERNET, you can go to nordvpn.com/talk2internet. I have links popping up in my chat. I think Lawrence probably also has links popping up in his chat for NordVPN. If you want to click it, $3.56 a month for a 2-year plan, 70% off plus a month free. Thanks again, NordVPN, for sponsoring the podcast. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Nord.
Thanks, Nord.
Thanks, Nord. All right, Lawrence, tell us why you didn't like Bo Burnham's Inside, and I absolutely want to hear it because I wasn't like super hot on it either. I'm not going to poo-poo you at all.
Okay.
No spoilers though, because I'm going to watch it.
Okay, no spoilers.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well, shucks. I feel bad then voicing a negative opinion because I don't want to. I guess maybe I'm assuming too much and thinking that my opinion would hold iron sway over.
Oh yeah, no, I don't give a shit what you think, Lawrence. So go ahead.
Also, real quick, Criken, could you please teach me your ways? Because I think one of the reasons that I reacted to it was seeing everyone on the internet gush about it. Which,
my ways? Why am I responsible for that?
No, you're not. That's the beautiful thing. I want you to teach me to not just to have people's statements about things just bounce off my brain and not even land there at all. Because I wish I had come to it with a completely blank slate. Because then I may not have been disappointed is the word I would use. Again, based entirely off of what people were saying about it. But all right, so here's the core of my issue with it. And
I'm going to deafen so that I'm a blank slate. I am maintained pure.
Wow. Okay,
I
like this.
I'll undeafen once you tell me that you're done talking about it. Okay.
Well,
This is all live editing on the podcast itself.
We'll do this to you.
Okay. All right. I'll see you guys when it's all over. Goodbye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Oh, I can even see an icon. Great. Okay. My first thing was like I never laughed. It was not funny. Not one time.
It wasn't funny. You are correct. Yes.
My number 2 thing was it like half of it was just a series of observations about white culture, and to some degree that's like stand-up comedy, but there weren't jokes. It was just lists of things. My parent put his thumb over the camera. White women love pumpkins. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. So that's like number 2. I'm just like, ugh, okay. The songs are catchy enough, especially for one, writer and director. It was shot super well, so there's that.
It was beautiful, yeah.
I guess my biggest thing, the thing that again I wish that I didn't have a spike in my brain about, was everyone was saying, oh my gosh, it made me think so much, and it really like made me process a lot of my quarantine baggage. But when I watched it, it seemed bizarrely devoid of any kind of artistic statement at all. Near the end, I could see maybe Bo kind of like visualizing his feelings about being an introvert and being trapped indoors and now forced outside, and the irony of that and all that stuff. And like in the last 5 minutes, I was like, this is starting to go somewhere. But then it didn't. A lot of the songs just cut off because, like a lot of, I think, new internet comedians, none of the bits were finished or had a punchline. They just sort of stopped. It reminded me of all the YouTube edits where somebody, because they don't know how to end, just screams into the microphone and then it cuts. So it kind of maybe that's what comedy is now. Maybe it's just a series of non sequiturs and lefts and rights and trite observations about the world. But to me, I don't know. I did not gain any new understanding, or like I didn't even get much of a personal and artistic message from the creator. Instead, it just seemed like a series of like social media bits that were kind of smashed together. There were significant stretches of it that I thought should have just gotten deleted. Like, just take it out. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't say anything. It's just kind of there. So, yeah, that's that if I just seen it on its own, I would have been like, well, that was a fun experiment. But to have like to see so many people be like, oh my gosh, this is the defining piece of art from quarantine. I don't know. To me, it's just didn't
Lawrence,
hit that.
I don't disagree on a lot of your points.
Should I wave for Criken in now? Do you think it's
no, I think it'll probably spoil it.
Okay.
I was gonna say I think that there were a lot of points that he was trying to make by just raising awareness. So there were a lot of jokes like you just said about him being white and about how we weren't addressing the right issues. But, and again, it's not his job as a comedian to give solutions, but he didn't give any solutions. So there was never even a hint of it. It was just sort of like, here are all the problems.
And he addressed it in the most sanitary way. It was lists of things that no one could really have a problem with, but along that line, it was lists of things that said nothing of merit, to me.
And I think the point of that, because I was trying to think of it, and I was like, I know he's not going to give me a bunch of solutions on how to fix these things in his hour-and-a-half comedy special. So I think he was just sort of raising the awareness and trying to hit us with the these are all problems, think about them lesson. So I gave him that credit there.
But in the intro, he explicitly said the world doesn't need more problems, it needs comedy. And then all he did was just wallow in the negativity of quarantine. There was very little joy or comedy. I don't know. It's the Bo Burnham thing where it's like, if you say it out loud, then that gives you permission to do it, because at least you've acknowledged that you're doing it. And it's that same of like, listen guys, I made this in quarantine, so the edits are going to be bad, and sometimes there's going to be weird transitions, and it like cuts in the middle of a transition. Okay, that's a joke. But saying that you're going to do it doesn't excuse the fact that it was a bunch of disconnected bits that didn't have any like through line. Like even a good stand-up set has a through line, and as impressive as he is that he did it all, and it's well shot and fairly well edited. He had a year to write it, right? It just seems strange to me that it just seems like if somebody did that in like 3 months, then be like, dang. But then again, it is all about like having difficulties navigating mental problems to be creative and all that stuff. So I
think that was the point. Yeah.
Is that the
I think
point?
that was to me, I don't know. That's what it felt like to me. That was my interpretation, is that he was struggling just like a lot of people were in quarantine. And I think he did a good job of communicating that struggle through his special. And it resonated with a lot of people because a lot of people were feeling that same way.
I don't know what that feeling is though. And I worked through it, Lawrence. I worked through the quarantine. So it's like, for me, it's like, I don't really know. I busted my ass, and I had a lot of problems. I had a lot of mental health issues throughout the quarantine that I definitely have not talked about on camera. And so I was thinking to myself, boy, it would have been great if I had been able to make a special and been able to air all that shit out. That would have been awesome. And again, this isn't me complaining. This is just me thinking about it from my perspective. This is the way I thought about it. So that said, I still think it was really, really good. It was a really interesting piece of art that somebody made, that I was impressed with. But I hear your complaints, definitely. I guess to me, it seemed like it was trying to be a crowd pleaser and not a work of art, while masquerading as a work of art, which is
interesting. Yeah.
Because it reminded me of, like songs that I used to listen to when I was a teenager, and the lyrics would all be written so generically so that I could take them and make them about me. So when I'm like watching a song about, oh, my dad doesn't say much to me when we're on a phone call, I'm like, yeah, that's everybody's dad, I guess. Or my when I call my mom, she holds the phone too close to her face. I'm like, yeah, that's everyone. This is a pop song for white people in their 30s that went through quarantine. So maybe makes me wonder, maybe it's just demographic appeal.
Yeah. Should we wait for Criken back in?
I think we can, yeah.
Everybody.
Come on back in. Here's a question that doesn't really spoil the thing. Somebody said, is comedy the right medium to solve social problems? I have seen comedians, yes, do a very good job of telling a joke about a social problem and then offering a solution. George Carlin is one of them.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
George Carlin was legendary for that. And that said, again, you don't have to do it. I'm just saying it is possible. It is a possible thing.
It's my preferred medium of provoking thought.
There you go.
If I'm honest, because I don't know, like if you get too up in arms and aggressive and serious about it, then I think it's a lot harder to change people's minds than if you kind of make them laugh and rethink their own, I guess, presumptions based on just, humor. Humor is like the easiest way, I think, to get to someone and have them remember it,
Mm-hmm. Chappelle is another good one too.
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart, absolutely.
Yeah.
Autumn just said.
Guy whose name I can't remember.
Autumn was talking about the
Stephen
Bo Burnham
Colbert.
special.
There we go. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Autumn said, I thought the point of this Bo Burnham special was that he was just trying to be funny through the awfulness of 2020, and it was impossible because of the impossibility of all the social environmental issues reaching a crisis point in the world. And yes, I absolutely think that is one of the points of that special. 100%. I don't necessarily think that it's impossible, but I understand his feeling for that it felt impossible, if that makes sense. Sorry, try not to spoil it for Criken.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah. That's an interpretation.
Criken, you don't have to, like I said, I think you should watch it because I think you're really going to enjoy it. I think it's going to be something that if you watch in the right headspace, you'll be like, fuck.
Yeah. Well, just from what I know of his previous works, I think I've agreed with a lot of his thoughts on the kind of double-edged sword of content creation and authorship. So for those reasons alone, I'm kind of intrigued in seeing it, especially if it's like about how he's been dealing with the last year. Because figuring out how to keep keep the show rolling, show must go on in the face of what feels like the end of the world is a really tricky thing. And so curious.
Well,
to
we
see.
were all three of us were doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm that's the thing we all shared. Every entertainer in the world shares.
Yeah.
And so we've all done it in different ways and used different coping mechanisms, I'm sure. So yeah.
Yeah. Lawrence, is really, I'm glad to hear somebody else talk about that because I thought maybe I was just, because like you said, I saw a bunch of takes about it and I was like, did I miss that? I don't know.
This happens to me frequently. And it creates a multitude of feelings, none of which I enjoy. One of which is feeling pretentious, which I don't like. Two is feeling disconnected from the human experience, which I also don't like. If all these people are feeling such deep emotional resonance for me, what am I missing that I can't connect to that kind of thing? Three is judgment of others, which it's loud. Sorry, I clicked on a video. Stop it. Stop, Reddit. Oh, it won't stop. Judgment of others, because I can't help that whenever somebody says that something is the best thing they've ever seen, and then I watch it and I'm just like, gosh, man, some people got strong words for things that are not that special to me, but like that naturally flows. And then like, I don't know, I don't like any of it. I guess most of all what frustrates me is going into something expecting like a humanity and seeing very little of it. Or just seeing originality or something emotional. But then again, my emotions are finicky, and it's not fair, I think, to hold it against artists and creators for what happens inside of my weird heart.
Well, everybody's got a different experience too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that that's a problem if you had a different experience. It's just you just had a different experience. That's all. And also what we've talked about, and actually what Bo Burnham talks about in the special, I won't spoil it too much, but he talks about how, because I saw somebody in my chat say, he's talking about how he's tired of people sharing their opinions, and that's what we're all doing. I mean, it's our job, just so you know, it's a podcast, but it's one of those things where I don't necessarily think any opinion in the middle has any traction on the internet because everyone's looking for likes and retweets. So it has to be either it was the worst thing in the world or it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. There is no middle. And when you add a little nuance, like I try to do generally when it comes to like things that I'll tweet or whatever, it doesn't. People don't. They're just kind of like, they just move on. But if it's somebody saying Bo Burnham's Inside was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life and I watched it 100 times, then everyone's like, wow, okay, that's an opinion. and that gets the traction on the internet that they were looking for. That's the problem. That's the bad reinforcement, I think, that we're adding to the internet discourse.
Sure.
I
Well,
wish
you
it
just look the
didn't
other
have
way.
to be extreme.
That's what I've been doing. Man, I can't
Yeah.
stand. Yeah, the older I get, maybe it's not an age thing, but yeah, I just am repulsed by social media now. Or rather, I should say, like, I'm trying my best to curate it to just be expressions of humanity and happiness. Because yeah, the economy of opinion is. I'm just so tired of it. I don't care what I think about things. I care what other people think, but only if it's. I guess that's what keeps getting me is it's like it's a thing that's masquerading as another thing. So it's somebody saying inside is the best and here's why. It's not, you're not really artistically appraising inside. You're trying to put something on the internet that somebody else will retweet and like. That's your real intention, and that's the reason you're there. So I don't know. I see a lot of that. I don't see a lot of genuine humanity, which is just how people are. They don't show their genuine selves to the internet or the real world that much. But man, that's what I want to get out of art, and that's what I'd hoped people would want to get out of art. But that's just me, I guess. But yeah, Tesseract is 100% correctly. I'm transitioning from social rage to only posting cute pet videos. That's about where I'm at. I use Twitter to like try to workshop stupid jokes or shit posts, and that's about it. Mostly, I mean, I used to be pretty politically active because there were some pretty incredible threats to just the democratic process in general. But now that voting still seems to matter, I've backed off of that. So yeah, in the meantime, it's just, man, I just the thing is, if it weren't for social media, I probably never would have watched Inside. So, but I don't think it enriched my life much. So I don't know where I land on that. It's never bad to like take in more points of view and have more things to think about. I don't
Criken,
know.
when's the last time you tweeted something, an extreme opinion? Like, Criken never does. I know.
Yeah, I'm very I guess conservative in how I use Twitter. I mean, that's the thing I actually want to get better at. I always feel weird sharing too much of myself with it.
Me too.
And so it usually just kind of relegates to work stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had a better answer.
Yeah.
Well, Yondo said it. The attention economy is a farce. I don't think it actually amounts to anything unless you play it all day, every day for years.
I mean, I've seen it amount to actual money and status for people. Absolutely. Over the course of years, 100%.
Yeah, it does.
100%.
But that's the other thing is I get so sick of seeing that stuff of people just like doing hopscotch. That's what people who are successful on social media play hopscotch every day. They jump in the right squares, they say the right thing in the right way, and that's why they're there. And that's not why I go to social media to drop a like on somebody's very safe, like socially active tweet or whatever. Man, whatever. I got my own beliefs. I don't need it.
It's yeah. I mean, I think probably that's one of the reasons why I like you guys. It's because you do have nuance, and the things that I see, like your thoughts and feelings and stuff, even if I see them on social media, generally are pretty tame in the sense that they are like they clearly had put some thought into them. And I was just talking with Autumn about this a few days ago. How imagine, because a lot of the social media influencers we see now are 20. Imagine if you were like a 20-year-old, like Criken. I don't think you were out there tweeting like every single crazy thought you had when you were 20.
Nope.
No,
I was even more private back then.
yeah. I probably would have been too, but all the things that I was thinking and feeling when I was like 18 or 20, and then I'm putting them on the internet? No way. That's crazy. Like I would have, that's just it. That's wild. I think, and that's what a lot of people are doing nowadays. So, and it really does make for, I guess, like compelling train wrecks. Because then you get to, you know, train wreck is you can't look away. Well, that's what this is. It's like somebody tweets something that is clearly a really brutal take that a lot of people are going to either hate or a lot of people are going to love, and you get to see what happens.
Or we'll just bite them in the ass like a year or two from now or 4 years from now, and that,
Right.
you know, becomes the cancellation of them, and like it's just a cycle. It's a media cycle that is unchecked because it's so accessible to the world. Yeah, I'm not too down for that.
Well, Criken, you're a living example of somebody who doesn't need to play or even be involved with that silly game. And you're
That's
still
true.
a successful creator.
True.
That's right.
I think that's yeah, you can like chase the numbers and try to land sponsorship deals and get a grip of cash for like posting a picture of some product. And that's success to some people, I guess, but I don't know. I much prefer people like Criken who can create their art in the way they want and have it express what they want. They put it into the world and it finds an audience, and then they're allowed to operate and continue to express themselves.
So the counterpoint being, though, as we said earlier, as the noise has only increased, it's harder and harder to do something like what I do day to day, because
Yeah.
you almost need that inciting clickbait to even reach an audience for them to then stick around for you as a creator. And like that's not the case for everyone. Like there's actually an example that I've thought of fairly recently. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with I think it's Joel Haver.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's this kind of like skit comedian that's been doing YouTube videos for a long time. And one day he decided to start making these little animations that are like rotoscope styled and completely unique visually, and are just, a way for him to, do his skits, but with an animated style that's a lot more accessible for a lot of people. And he just started blowing up after that. And that's when I found him, was when it was like early in some of these animations. And I'm like, this is amazing stuff. And it went viral, and now he's, well on his way to kind of being a consistent, like big channel. And so it's cool that that is the example that we've been talking about, of like someone that's just been working really hard and trying a lot of different things, and didn't, has just kind of one success out of pure consistency and experimentation and like trying something new. So that is the ideal case scenario. But of course there's a lot that goes into, you got to be able to like willing to teach yourself a new skill, or, do something kind of out of the ordinary to stand out, because you have to stand out nowadays. There's no other way to do it.
I don't know his background like you do, Criken, but it sounds like he's kind of been refining his craft for years. And, he probably would have never gotten to the thing that made him big recently if he hadn't been doing the other things for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I think about it, is there's a refining to it. You very rarely, your first idea isn't your best one, generally.
Criken, I'm curious. Have you ever felt the pressure to sexify your operations a little bit, clickbait it up, or have you done things the way you want and just put it out into the world and then been satisfied with its popular appeal?
Weirdly enough, I had that thought back right before college. In fact, there was kind of a fork in the road moment for me where I was like, either I go to college and like do that for 4 years and try to be a game designer, or I just stick to YouTube. I'm already kind of growing at a really good pace. If I made this my full-time job, I think I could, grow really fast. And I decided to go to the college approach because, I felt that ultimately I would not be satisfied with a life of just pure content creation. So basically I opted to go into debt for an education system, as opposed to making quite a bit of money. And, jury's still out on whether or not that was, is like the objectively right call. But it did teach me a lot of things and kind of allow me to develop as a person in ways that I think have been helpful. And I think back then was that moment, right, where I could have gone all in on YouTube. If I was going to do that, I'd be playing the trends more. I'd be like, I'd be a lot more aware, I think, of the content I'm putting out there, as opposed to going the college approach, which was like, I like to keep my channel and my community around, but it's not my sole focus as a person or an entertainer.
I'm thinking a lot about that. The difference between being a performer, an entertainer, and an artist. Because they're not all the same thing. It was like, I can't remember why, but I was thinking about Elvis. And I was like, he wasn't really a musician, but by God, was he an entertainer and a performer. Yeah. Oh, damn. Like the world's best, probably. But I like musicians. So it's always been, now that I'm old, I can kind of figure out like what about him didn't really hit for me. It's because he was performing. And there's art in performance for sure, but it's not the soul of music. It is in a way, I don't know. There's multiple souls of music. So it's interesting to finally develop the language to sort of understand my own reactions to things.
Yep.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. But a lot of people have been asking about Battlefield, and I want to know what you think, Bruce.
Oh man, we've only got 10 minutes.
Don't let me interrupt if you had a good point banked up.
No, I didn't. Lawrence, do we? Are we going to talk about Battlefield on Inside Games, or what do you think?
We can, if you think there's enough to talk about. Sure.
I wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure. I mean, like, I didn't want to spoil it too much. All right, fine. You want to talk about Battlefield? Fine, we can talk about Battlefield. Did you watch the trailer, Criken?
I saw one scene from the trailer.
Okay, so all it is based. The whole trailer, just for very briefly for the audio listeners, is a bunch of Battlefield moments. So like you're literally playing the game, but they rendered this like full render CGI with like, you know, actual humans and shit like that. It's really cool, but it's just Battlefield moments. So like one of the specific moments is there are two jets chasing each other. Somebody jumps out of a jet, has a rocket launcher for some reason, then shoots the rocket and blows up the other jet and then hops back into their jet, which is absolutely clearly a Battlefield moment. So I think it's really cool that they've embraced Battlefield moments with the trailer. That said, it doesn't have a single player campaign. They're charging $70 for it on next gen systems, not PC. So I tweeted this, but if multiplayer doesn't work out of the gate, if multiplayer does not work the first day that this game is out, it's going to be dead in the water.
Wow, you think
because
so?
I just because they have to get multiplayer right because it's got nothing else. And this is what happened with Battlefield 5 is that like Battlefield 5 kind of had a middling launch and then they're like Battle Royale, but you had to pay for the game. Was Firestorm, did that ever go free to play? Do we know? Does anybody know? I feel like it didn't, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think there's ever been a free to play version of Battlefield.
Does anybody?
No, wait. There was Battlefield Heroes, right? That was a million years ago. Sorry. Anyway,
that was way back. Yeah. But and then they released 6 months later. They released the Battle Royale version of Battlefield 2042, and it better be free to play. Or if it's not free, like it's like EA is like just destroying this franchise that I love because I love Battlefield. I've been playing Battlefield 4 the last few weeks. I really was a big fan of Battlefield 1. I even like Battlefield 5. Like I was like, sort of people are always like, is this a game good? And I was like, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I enjoy it. I just really hope they're not, just release it correctly. Like, come on. It's not that hard. Make sure the servers work. Like it's that easy. That's how I feel about it. Cause there's nothing for you to do. If the game doesn't work.
Thematically, what is the game setting? Because
20 years in the future.
2042.
Okay, so it's future.
It's a prequel to 2142 and a sequel to 1942.
Which is cool. I think that's cool. And if it's anything like Battlefield 4, which it seems like it probably is.
Who's fighting in 20 years?
We don't know.
It's the USA and Russia. And then because there's like a lore entry on the website, I think. I think
was there?
Yeah, so like the climate change and all of the things, all the bad things we're hearing about now do happen. And then because there's just like swarms of international refugees, there's like an entire generation that grows up refugee, and they're called like no patriots or no pats or whatever. And the players are no patriots. They're just like, I guess, fodder for the, military industrial complex of a hot war between Russia and the USA that are like the only remaining superpowers in a like collection of loose city states now. I don't know. It's funky.
Collection of loose city states. Oh my God, the world devolves that much in 20 years?
I don't know.
Countries cease to exist?
I think there are still nations, but I think most of them don't have a whole lot of sway anymore.
Allow me to say these few words. you're not going to care. And the reason
There's no single player?
because there's no single player. You're not going to give a fuck.
Okay.
I mean, did anyone care about Battlefield single player ever?
No.
So why
And
does it need to be there?
So I'm totally fine with it. However, they're charging $70 for it. So they're asking a lot of money for something that seemingly has less content. And because if they had asked 60, we could have gone like, cool, all right, 60, no problem. And if they had asked 40, everybody would have been like, wait a minute, hold on a second, you're blowing my mind. Is this Battlefield worse somehow? So I know why they had to hit the 60, 70 price point, but I don't know. Lawrence, what do you think?
I don't think I'm quite as. I guess I don't quite see the trajectory of EA messing with Battlefield in that regard. I think I see a lot of what Activision has already done with Call of Duty and what EA is trying to do. I think they're trying to extend the lifespan of this franchise being a $70 box product as long as they possibly can. And once that sales trajectory starts to slip or plateau, then they'll start. I think they already started. Firestorm was them toying around with Battle Royale, I think, just to see if they had the technology to run it. So yeah, I can see something similar happen with what they did with. I mean, they didn't make Call of Duty free to play. They made what is it? Warzone free to play.
Yeah,
which is weird because that is the more Battlefield mode of Call of Duty. So I don't know. I don't necessarily. I think I guess I'm happy we're still in the retail packaging part of Battlefield because if it goes free to play, that's going to change a lot of things. Maybe not in a bad way, but I still kind of like it this way. As far as the trailer goes, I think it was a really fun. I think it, like Bruce, like you said, it captured a lot of legacy of Battlefield trailers because they're all kind of like that. It reminded me of like there was the GIF, I think it was from Battlefield 3, of the dude jumping out of his plane, shooting someone with a rocket, getting back in it. No, wait, that was from one of the World War II ones, wasn't it? Wait, which one was that from? No, I think it was from 3.
I thought it was a more modern one, but I could be wrong.
I think it was 3. I think you're right. Or I think we're both right. Whatever. But I remember that trailer from 4 where it had like the dudes on the ATV going to the elevator, and then they got off on the top floor and drove the ATV through the building as it was falling over, and they drove off the building and base jumped out of it. I was like, oh, that's so cool. So it did make me think of a lot of that stuff, especially when they made the cinematic loop of the dude jumping out of the plane. I was like, that's cute. And to me, that's an intersection of them observing the player base, and then kind of, I don't know. I like it whenever game moments get that treatment, whenever they're blown up into a giant cinematic thing. The Left 4 Dead trailer reminded me of that. How everything in that trailer is a game mechanic, but it's just well shot and well framed. So I thought it was cute. I thought it was a nice little nod to the community. I thought it was a fun way to sort of make the statement that the community is the game, or it's the moments in the match that make the game, not the story about world powers or anything like that. And, they're doing it in a typical marketing fashion where the franchise is big enough that they can bust it up into chunks and sprinkle it out over several months. So cinematic reveal, and then they'll have the gameplay reveal. And then in the gameplay reveal, they'll tease the reveal of the next mode that'll happen a month from now. And then they'll have like a teaser event for that event where you'll see like 30 seconds of gameplay. And then there will be a full thing with influencers. I don't know if we're at influencer territory yet because of COVID, but we're just kind of in the swarm now, I guess.
I can't wait. I'm gonna play the shit out of this game up until nobody wants to watch it. So like when people on Twitch don't want to watch it anymore, I'll be like, all right, I'll stop. But I love Battlefield, and that's why and people I saw people talking about they're like, well, you're playing Battlefield 4 now. Like clearly it's got a legacy. Battlefield 4 launched one of the worst launches I can ever remember. And the first 4 weeks of that game were fucked up.
It was real bad. And you would be on a squad with somebody and it would put you on different teams. If you even got into the same server, it was awful.
So the problem is that EA, it shouldn't be that EA makes a good game, but then you have to play it 6 years later for it to be good. That should not be a real thing. Like, we all know there's going to be 1 million people on the servers at launch. Buy a lot of fucking servers. How hard is this? I don't understand. So just do it.
Yeah, all I can figure is it's a cost thing. If you have 100,000 servers sitting by and only 5 of them get used, that could change your game from being profitable at launch to not being profitable, and could influence your ability to finance future I don't know. I'm being very apologist because it does feel like by now multiplayer launches should be mostly figured out, but I've never done one.
But they never are.
I'm not a network engineer, and I know the internet is just it's a jungle. So
That's I'll harken all the way back to our conversation earlier. That's why you work for a large company. That's why you have EA, which is a $1 billion company. They have the money to throw at a bunch of servers for your first month, and like do a massive stress test. I've heard that they're actually going to be doing alphas and betas in the next few months soon, which is good. So hopefully they do that. Hopefully they get a bunch of stress tests going on, because if the game launches poorly, as is the case with most Battlefields, it's not going to do well. And that's it's sad to say for Battlefield. It really is. But I don't want to see it fail. I want to see it succeed.
Well, we don't. E3 hasn't really happened yet, so we don't have a good sense of it. But there's really no shooter coming out. We don't know of any shooters coming out this fall aside from Battlefield, right?
COD, right?
Doesn't seem like there's going to be a COD this year.
What? No new COD?
That's what I mean. I saw some murmurs and bits, just mostly on Twitter, I think, of people.
Oh, Halo.
Thinking, oh, sure, yeah, Halo Infinite. Yep. I mean, Halo out of all the games is the one that could probably compete the most with Battlefield, because it has planes and vehicles and stuff, and you're kind of used to that in the Halo setting. Gosh, imagine a Halo Infinite match where it's on a ring and you're trying to fight for the entire ring. You can get a plane and fly across the ring. Imagine it. Somebody imagine it.
I am.
It's cool, right?
Criken, you're not an FPS person, generally speaking.
I haven't been for a while. I played a fair bit of COD Modern Warfare when that came out. I played a lot of Halo when that came out, or Halo 3 specifically. But I'm not a super competitive gamer, so I don't really gravitate to these games mostly. However, I have been playing Chivalry recently, which is technically a first-person slasher.
It is.
And
Slasher.
that has been a lot of fun.
That game rules.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it too.
It's fun. It is really fun. I don't know. I just hope that I want to see everybody. I want to see Criken play Battlefield. That's what I want to see.
I'll play with you, man. I think the way I play Battlefield is very fuck around and see what happens sort of thing. We try to do weird shit. I think I made videos of Battlefield early in my YouTube career, and we would do shit basically as the trailer described, do a flip, jump out, try to catch them with someone else's jet,
right?
Or stage the most cinematic, dramatic interactions possible with all of our friends. So that stuff's really fun. There's a lot of great stories that come from that game, so I think I'll try it.
I just hope it catches people like Criken. Basically, it's kind of the people that are on the outside of that, because I know, like I said, I know I'm gonna play it, but I want it to succeed. So,
okay, well maybe you'll convince me before then.
Hold on, I haven't even seen the game. I haven't seen the gameplay yet.
$70 Criken.
All right,
need it on my desk in the morning. Yeah, how do you feel about the MSRP of games creeping up?
The what?
The manufacturer suggested retail price. Yeah, it seems like every company's trying to tiptoe it up to 70 for this gen release.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, that's pretty standard, right? I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. It was 40.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Where were you a kid?
I think so. I'm thinking, yeah, it was 40.
Damn, they were 50 where I was.
GameCube games were 40.
Oh, they were
$40? Really?
I think so. It's been 60 for a long time. 50 was...
It was 360 PS. It was Gen 7 when games went up to 60. And in United States, of course, but...
They were never 40? All right, then I guess 50, but... I feel like I remember 40 games. Maybe I was only able to get games that were a couple months old as a kid, so I never got the first release.
Yeah, the launch.
Yeah.
Well, back when they were 90 on Nintendo, way back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was and so that made it even harder if you were a kid and you were asking your parents or something $300 for a system and then $90 for a game.
All the bomb ass RPGs cost $80. Chrono Trigger cost a ton because they just didn't make many copies of them.
It's crazy.
And also it was better.
Well, guys, we made it.
We made it
to the end of the podcast. We had actually a lot more to talk about, but we just didn't get to it.
Teaser for next
Legit.
time.
Talking heads.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we did it. I would assume in the next few weeks we'll do another podcast, probably in let's say 3 to 4 weeks. We've been spacing these out a little more. I know people have been asking. So.
Yep. And we'll talk about E3. We'll talk about Lawrence.
This guy.
And we'll talk about Bruce.
And Criken.
And me. Wow.
And you.
I got to catch the next one.
I got to gas you up, Bruce. You're the official Twitch Gaming E3 host, right?
That's right. I'm hosting
What?
E3 along
How
with.
did I not know about this?
Like a cup of noodle and I are hosting the Twitch Gaming E3 show on Saturday and Sunday. And
Oh my God, I'm gonna be there.
I'm very excited about it.
I'm gonna make you giggle on camera. All right.
I mean, probably
That's
you
a
will.
promise.
Part of my, I think most of my job is actually looking at chat and like talking to chat, which is great. That's what I do it anyway. So
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, make sure to catch Bruce. It's just Twitch TV/Twitch Gaming. Is that where it is?
probably, I don't know the channel yet, Lawrence, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Blindsided you a bit. But also, Bruce and I are going to hang out a bit on Monday and Tuesday?
Monday, Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to watch the conferences then and just shoot the shit, crush some brews, and look at some games.
Criken, do you want to do that with us? Do you want to come over and get drunk?
Yeah.
What time is it?
The times vary on Monday, Tuesday. It's like Monday, Tuesday, like they're all kind of throughout the day because they're like those conferences are spaced out. Lawrence would know better than I would, but
Yeah, they're
might be
all
down,
kind of
actually.
spaced out.
If they're all one day, then yeah, I usually do reaction stream stuff anyway, but doing it in person sounds even more fun. So
we could restream it to all 3 channels.
Yeah, I'm going to be getting real drunk, Criken. Be warned.
oh, okay. Are we gonna come up with a drinking game? Because this
Yeah,
sounds fun.
I've got
Lawrence
some
is-
ideas.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
Lawrence-
do some thinking too.
It's tough because the conferences this year are going to be a bit different. So I don't know. There's some that I'm like might be a little too much, like any mention of COVID or of these times. I don't
times.
know. Yeah, these
Ooh. I like that one,
these
though.
blank times, uncertain,
These
trying,
strange times.
yeah,
These
volatile.
unprecedented times. These,
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
So there's that. It was like these are just I'm just workshopping so far. So world premiere, that doesn't happen that often unless it's Jeff Keighley's show. The other one I thought is any sizzle reel that's not about a game. So like if it's just a bunch of multicultural people at like cubicles scribbling, which it's an image that's been showing up at E3 more and more, which is not a bad thing. But I'm just trying to look for the trends. Like I like identifying what makes 2021 E3 2021
Right.
E3. So anyway, that's kind of where my head's at. Anyway, yeah, I'm excited because I'm gonna get
I mean, I'm down. That does sound like fun. So keep me updated. I'll
right.
see if I can be there.
these totally lit times.
we'll totally lit. We'll text you because, like I said, it's like they kind of just the times vary throughout the day. I mean, you probably drop by and come in for one or something if you wanted to.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for the podcast. Thank you all. And since I control the switcher, I'm going to be the one to say, have a good day, everyone.
Weird sign off.
A little bit, yeah. I didn't think about it ahead of time.
Very forceful.
Yeah. They have to now, though.